Close of play of the second day of this second test match between England and Pakistan at the Ageas Bowls. Is Pakistan on 223 for 9 after 86 overs. So basically now, after 2 days, we've basically lost a whole day's play. Some can be made up, but without getting too complicated with calculations, effectively we've lost a whole day's play now, not to rain, but to what has been judged to be bad light, and that has obviously sparked all sorts of comment and criticism about whether the light is fit for play, whether it's unreasonable to play, whether it's dangerous to play. It's the usual interpretation that has to be implemented by the umpires, and they have decided again, and not for the first time this summer, that play was not good enough. Mohammad Rizwan is 60 not out, and how well he's played too. A real chirpy character, and he's held this lower order together. Here Mohammad Abbas put on 39 together. He of course batting at number 10, and he was eventually out LBW abroad for just 2 out of that stand of 39, and we'll talk about England's tactics during that moment, I'm sure, along with Michael Vaughan and Azam Mahmood, who are sitting alongside me, just to run through the event. So basically Babar Azam was caught behind off Stuart Broad for 47. Yasser Shah made 5. He was caught behind off James Anderson. Shaheen Afridi hung around for a while, but then he fell victim for the second time, not him, but Sibley's second direct hit run out in 2 matches, which is a good effort. Again, it's quite long range. And Shaheen Afridi stranded, was out for naught. And then Mohammad Abbas, as described, LBW to Broad. England regrouped after tea, basically. They got things back on track again, set some sensible fields, and this one was pitched up from Broad, nipped back, hit number 10 in front, out for 2. So 223 for 9, all a bit frustrating if you just love your cricket and want to see some play, frankly. Anderson's taken 3 for 48, Stuart Broad 3 for 56, Sam Curran 1 for 44. And Chris Woakes 1 for 55. So where should we start? Let's start with Michael Vaughan then, shall we? And what's your assessment of what's happened here today?
Well, I think we're in for, even though there's been a lot of cricket lost, I think it's a test match that all results are still possible because of the surface, the conditions. I think Pakistan should be very, very proud of the way that they fought, played with great discipline, skill, because there's so much action out there, there's so much swing, there's so much seam. Mohammad Rizwan has played a blinder really to get Pakistan up to this 223. They get another 10 or 15. I would say they're not too far off par in terms of what they've had to batting. And then you look at the likes of Naseem Shah, Shaheen Afridi, Mohammad Abbas on this kind of wicket. If they get it right, if it carries on like this, and I believe the forecast is very similar for a few days, a team will get bowled out very cheaply. Because I think there will be a session where the outside edges are found. As long as you take your chances, I'm not too sure which innings it'll be, but I do think there'll be an innings that potentially a team will get bowled out cheaply on this kind of surface. England had a similar spell this afternoon to a couple of spells that I thought they had in Manchester, where they just seem to just switch off and they just allow the game to Miranda along, and tactically it doesn't look quite right. Then all of a sudden the break comes and they come out with different tactics, which suggests to me that the coach has sat them down and gone, what are you doing?
Yes.
Get back to the basics of the game. And that's a bit of a concern for me with this test team, that it happens quite consistently, that they seem to lose track of what is required out in the middle. It takes a break or a moment for them to suddenly go back into the dressing room and the coaches to sit with them and go, just cover the basics.
Is there a way of getting a message out? I mean, you see the 12th man running out with gloves for a batsman, don't you, and saying get on with it or something as they pass the gloves over that aren't really put on.
Yeah.
Isn't there a way that a coach can get a message out to the captain and say, what is going on? Sort things out. And someone comes out and passes the message on and then goes back into the dressing room again.
Well, you could have that situation, but you'd like to think when you've got so much experience out in the middle, you've got Joe Root as captain into his 43rd or 44th game as a captain. You've got Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson, who played hundreds of test matches together. It's surprising me that we do continuously have moments where the team don't seem to be getting the tactics right. Pakistan are back in the game, no question about that. England are going to have to fight hard with the bat tomorrow because you would expect, in particular, Mohammad Abbas to be a real handful on this wicket.
Yes. Go on then, Azza. I thought sort of 180 all out would be something that England would have been looking for today. At one stage, Pakistan were 176 for 8 when Shaheen was run out for naught. That still feels to be quite below par, but they've come clawing back. And I wonder how you think 223, say they get, 240, something like that. That would be a reasonable score under the circumstances.
Yeah, if they can manage to get another 15, 20 runs, that'll be crucial. But I thought Rizwan played really well, and he was very sensible. When ball was doing and hooping around, he was stick with Babar Azam, and they shown some great discipline, good technique, and great temperament. And when Rizwan was running out of the partners, and then he started to play a few shots. And at that period, when Michael said, England were change their plans, and we saw 3 men back on the boundary and change their length, and which allow Mohammad Rizwan to get extra bit of runs. And we saw, I think Shaheen batted 19 ball without any runs, and Abbas 19 balls for 2 runs only.
Yes.
And allow Rizwan to get 30-40 runs added, which was really crucial. One stage I was thinking, 180, Pakistan will bowl out 180. And then little bit plan change from England helped Pakistan.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about Mohammad Rizwan. I mean, he's not a young man, he's 28, isn't he? And this is his 8th test. But was he always likely to be the man who took Sarfraz's place?
Yes, he was around with the team for, I think, 4 or 5 years. And he played under, when Sarfraz was batting, he played as a batsman in New Zealand, one of the games. So Mickey Arthur used to really like him, his temperament, and he's a hard-working guy, and always does something for the team, and one of the fittest guy in Pakistan team. And he's always been there, but unfortunately Sarfraz was captain for last 4 years, and he couldn't get his chance. But every time before the World Cup, he got opportunity to play against Australia when Sarfraz was rested, and he got back-to-back 100 against Australian bowling lineup. I know it was Sharjah, Dubai pitches, but he managed to get those runs, and he was the highest run scorer against Lions last year when they were playing the series, and he was way ahead of every other batsman who played in that series. So he's there, and he deserved to be in this situation. I always seen him playing some short, but today I was really impressed with his temperament, technique, and discipline.
He looks like one of those typically spiky wicket-keeper batsmen batting at number 7, winds you up. He's a bit chirpy behind the stumps, and he scores really useful runs.
Yeah, and today I thought he played perfectly because he was just hanging in there. When Babar Azam was out there, he just knew that Babar was playing with great control. Maybe learnt a little bit from the way Babar played. He was just leaving outside off stump, waiting for the straight ball. It's not a pitch, or it hasn't played in a way that you think that a player could come out there and start driving it on the up from ball 1. And if you take high risk options on here, I don't think many will survive too long. Yeah. But when he got down to the likes of Shaheen Afridi and now Mohammad Abbas, he had to take the gamble. That shot to Chris Woakes when he danced down and pulled it over mid wicket, that was a terrific shot. And he's a competitor. Behind the stumps he's noisy, but he's very, very good. He catches pretty much everything. And when you are a chirpy player, you've got to back it up with performance. And so far, in this game in particular with the bat, he's just given Pakistan a glimmer of hope, because Pakistan got bowled out. And I think England should have bowled Pakistan out in the conditions that they'd bowled if they'd have fielded a bit better for about 150. Yeah. So they've already allowed Pakistan to get a score that is a bit more than they should have done. And you just know with this Pakistan bowling lineup, if they get it right tomorrow, and England just have one of those days where they're not quite switched on and they play a few loose shots. One thing's for sure with the England Test match team, it can be bowled out cheaply. We've seen it a lot in the past, particularly when the ball does a bit. So I do think this partnership's been crucial, and Rizwan's given Pakistan a real good chance tomorrow of causing a little bit of chaos in the England batting lineup.
Let's just get clear what happened then with England today, and it has happened before. You get a batsman who's playing well, number 7 in this case, Rizwan, and he's obviously playing quite carefully because the conditions demand that. Then suddenly you get the number 10 come out, isn't very good. And so you suddenly, the plans seem to change again. Right, that's it. So we're going to just deny Rizwan strike if we can, deny him boundaries if we can. Men go out, we've got to try and make sure that we get the number 10 on strike. And suddenly the basic element of running up and bowling the line and length that got you the wickets in the first place, and has had Rizwan in trouble. And we talked about the drive being the most dangerous shot possibly in these conditions with the ball going away. That's gone. 3 men go out. It's like a complete hang on. What's going on here? Like you'll blow a whistle and say stop. What's going on? And that's what happened this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, It's always easier from our side when you take away the emotions of actually the game situation. You're not involved. We're just seeing it. And 11 years I've not been involved, but the more I watch cricket, the more I understand that you just keep it dead simple. And when teams start spreading the field, I did it on a few occasions and got it wrong. And I understand from the captaincy point of view that it's difficult, but the more that they could listen to people that are emotionally attached, the better they'll become, because you just don't need to spread it. The third man they put down, and that was the right decision, because Rizwan was swinging. The top edge could easily have gone down. He's played a couple of ramp shots, fine leg back, square leg back, but then ring fields on a pitch like this, and if he plays a few shots on the up through extra cover, you've got to just accept that. He's played some wonderful shots, and it does surprise me that this England side with so much experience in the bowling department, because you've got to remember, the finger's always pointed at the captain. We've got Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad. There's most caps bowling due with more wickets than anybody.
Would Joe Root stand and say that it's one of those two saying, right, that's it, man back there, let's have a man back at deep square leg? Is Joe Root still able to say to them, no, Stuart, or no, Jimmy, you're not having that. We're going to stick to this plan that's got us this far.
Absolutely, he should. Yeah, he's the captain. He should be able to and should override any tactics that he doesn't think's right. That's why you're the captain. But it does surprise me with that combination of so much quality, so much expertise that on their watch, which is the team on their watch at the minute out in the field. It does surprise me that they do go for this tactic far too soon, too often.
Easily done, isn't it? You have been there as well.
Yeah, I was involved in one of these situations in myself. Not one of these, but quite a few, where your tail-ender comes in and you suddenly start thinking of bowling to tail-ender, give the proper batsman a single, and try to bowl, and suddenly you change your plans. It's always happened, and it's still happening in this game as well. So my question is, if Babar was playing with Rizwan, you're going to change the tactics? You're not going to change the tactics.
No.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And pitch is doing so much. If you hit the areas, and it's always there. We saw 80-year-old ball was hooping around and doing a lot, and ball does a lot in this innings. And why you want to change that? Yeah, we can easily. We can sit down and say things like that. It's different when you're on the field and making those decisions.
But again, the more that you watch the game from this perspective, which again isn't emotionally attached, the more you understand it. As soon as you switch to that tactic, you've mentally said that you don't really believe you're going to get that batsman out unless he makes a big error.
Yes, that's it.
And that is the psychological shift that you allow the opposing team, and then the massive gaps, and they're not the ones in the twos. And on a wicket like this that's doing plenty, 10 runs is a lot of runs.
Yes.
10 runs is a huge amount of runs, so don't allow them these easy ones and twos. And and also have the mindset of top of off stump, got to bowl them out.
Yeah.
And you have to get Rizwan out. That's the mindset I would try and portray to the team, is that always have the mindset on pitches like this. You've got to get whoever's facing, got to get them out. Don't allow them to kind of think that you're giving them belief and them confidence to think that you can't get them out by spreading the field. And they've done it a lot. It's not just that it's a one-off. They have had this tactical manoeuvre quite often in Test match cricket.
And it's interesting also when you're the bowler, even if you're vastly experienced, when you've only got 2 balls to bowl, you finally get the number 10 or 11 down on strike. You sort of tense up. I've got to get him out. I've got 2 balls. I've got to get him out. And suddenly again, you're thinking, you slightly lose that discipline. And you almost feel yourself tense up because you've only got those 2 balls. A short ball, okay, might soften him up possibly, but it's probably a wasted ball. So he's probably not going to bowl the bounce that he would when he get the full over at him. In fact, Stuart Broad did that, didn't he? When he had finally a full over at a bat, he gave him a short couple. He didn't want to do it earlier on. So it's amazing. Even at the highest level, you can just get a little bit scrambled, and they go off for tea, come back, and it's completely back to normal again. And of course, they got the wicket. I'm looking forward to seeing Pakistan bowl tomorrow. I mean, whatever they get with the bat is one thing, but the thoughts of the 2 young lads tearing in, Mohammad Abbas, that horrible, wobbly, tantalising, teasing, medium pace. He could be really tricky on there.
Yeah, he will be a handful on this pitch. Because of his line and length, the area he bowls around 4 or 5 meters, and which we saw England, most of the England wicket came on that sort of area where they bowl that one, and he will bowl all day in that
Yes.
area, and he can bowl long spell. And then the other end, you got Shaheen Shah Afridi, who can swing the ball, seam the ball, and late swing as well with the new ball as well. And then, boy, Naseem Shah, if he's running in, and as you mentioned, if it's extra pace, will do some.
Well, we don't know
different-
what it's going to do. I mean, there's some balls bounced quite alarmingly, didn't they?
Mohammed Abbas's record for Leicestershire was ridiculous. And these are the kind of wickets that he would have bowled on. A county pitch that's just got plenty of action. We've seen the Duke ball swinging up until the 80th over and manoeuvring itself off the seam. So I can't imagine it's not going to suddenly do that.
No.
Again, sleepless nights for the opening batsman. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight knowing that I'm going to face Mohammed Abbas on that.
I've seen Mohammad Abbas. I was bowling coach at that time. He got 10 for against Australia in Abu Dhabi pitch. So because of his line and length and asking question, hitting those stumps, and he bowled with a really straight line in those pitches.
How did he get them? LBW mainly?
LBW bowled and caught behind as well.
This is the kind of wicket, isn't it, that Abbas could win Pakistan a test match on this wicket.
Yes.
Definitely.
I would love to bowl on this one.
You're licking your lips, aren't you? I'm sure if you are now, I think Abbas will be this evening thinking about what he could do on that wicket if he gets it right. He very rarely gets it wrong.
No. Let's get some reaction from the England camp. Stuart Broad has been speaking to Simon Mann.
Well, Stuart, what sort of day was that for you and the team?
I mean, after losing the toss, I think any time you get a team 220 for 9, you're pretty happy. But I also feel like if we'd have taken a couple more chances and been a bit more ruthless with the ball, we could have bowled Pakistan out a bit cheaper. But we've controlled the rate really nicely. We need to make sure we get this wicket early tomorrow so we don't undo a lot of the hard work we've done.
Does it feel like with this pitch that there's a result out there? I know the weather's around, is causing problems, but there's enough happening?
Absolutely, it feels like a result pitch. We're just struggling with the weather and the light at the moment. That's 2 days gone with only one innings gone, so obviously we are up against it time-wise. But it's in our hands. I think here at the Ageas Bowl, the stats say that the first innings runs are normally outdone by the second innings. So that's our opportunity to bat. So it'll be in our hands to try and go past Pakistan and put their next innings under pressure.
I don't expect you to comment on the umpire's decision taking the players off for light, but at a general point, do you think it's time to have a look at light regulations in Test cricket, coming off a bad light?
It's a tricky one because players' safety is very important. If you've got bowlers bowling at 85 plus mile an hour and it's gloomy out there, it can be dangerous for batsmen and me as bowlers. You're keen to bowl all the time, aren't you? Especially in conditions like today. But I think the officials were right to bring us off actually, because it dropped below the darkness that we came off earlier in the day. I think all of our fielders were walking off going, we wouldn't want to bat in this. Yeah. This is quite dark. There's certainly been occasions in Test cricket where we've been off the field and there's been a crowd in where we feel like we could have been on the pitch. But today's been gloomy all day, and it has just felt like it's just been on that slightly dark side of being suitable to play.
What about bringing in a pink ball in situations like that? I mean, one or two suggestions today. Shane Warne said it. Michael Vaughan has said it. Put it out there as a possibility.
Yeah.
Would that alter the balance of the match too much? It's a situation like bring in the pink ball.
I don't agree with that at all. How old would the pink ball be?
The same as the ball we're using, I suppose. You have a box of balls. One is 10 overs old, one is 20 overs old, one is 40 overs old.
I think we've seen with the history of the pink ball under the floodlights, it's been very tricky for batsmen. So I think it would be an unfair balance to the game. If you were 300 for 3 and it got a bit dark and the pink ball came out, you could lose 5 for 10 if it really swung around like it can do. We've seen in Adelaide, etc., under the lights. So I think that's probably going a bit too far and complicating the situation a bit too much. At the end of the day, if the player's safety is in doubt, then the officials have to bring the players off. If the players feel safe and the officials feel like it's safe for the players to play, then you play.
What about your bowling? I mean, you've had a memorable summer. You took your 500th wicket, but how proud were you of that delivery that got Babar Azam?
Yeah, it was a nice ball. He's a really classy player. You can see a few of the shots he played had some real style about him. So we knew he'd be a big wicket. He was leaving really well outside off stump, I thought. So I came a little bit tighter to the stumps to see if I could get him playing with a straight bat, and it just nipped away nicely. So yeah, I was really pleased with that. To be honest, I've felt a great rhythm all summer. One of those summers that you don't want to finish.
Yeah.
You know, I've been running in well. I feel like I've been threatening the stumps. Things have been going my way as a player, and when that's happening, you want to wrap it in cotton wool and make it last as long as possible. But we're also realistic as sports people and know that doesn't ever seem to happen.
Yeah, it's like a batsman who scores lots of hundreds. You know, there's bound to be a naught there somewhere around the corner.
Absolutely.
Just one thing, one tactical thing. You know, towards the end of an innings, when there's one player in, like Mohammad Rizwan, and you've got the new ball, and you put the field back, and you have to bowl at a batsman with the field back. I mean, what's that like as a bowler? Do you inevitably lack a bit of intensity because you've got 4 balls the over, when in a sense it's not the same as when the field is up?
It's a tough one, and I think, you know, I'd be interested to hear a few of the pundits' opinions on what's best, because I've not seen any of it really work over long periods of time. If you keep the field in with a batsman on 60 and they've got a licence, then you can leak 30, 40 runs really quickly. If you put everyone out, very unlikely that a batsman on 60 will just chip it to a fielder on the boundary. So it's a really tough tactical decision, and I've seen it many a time, and I still don't really know what the right way is to go, because the last thing you want to do is leak 40 cheap runs when you've battled so hard to control the rate through the Test match so far. You almost, you want to bowl a really good ball and get a genuine dismissal. But there's something that lacks a bit of intensity of having everyone on the boundary. But then also, I've seen batsmen make mistakes and just pull one straight down deep square leg throat with that as well. So yeah, I don't have an answer for that really, because I just don't know what the best way is to go.
Just a tough one for the captain, really.
And bowlers, the bowler's choice what to do really. But it just feels when a batsman has a complete licence with the field up, and they're on 60 and in, top class international players can generally clear the infield. You wouldn't bowl in an ODI with every fielder up, would you, with someone on 60? So it's a tricky one, but there was enough in that pitch to feel like you'd want to keep 2 or 3 slips in. You just need to really make use of your 2 or 3 balls at the number 10 and 11 and make them count.